I'm cutting off our fitness talk.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of things.
It's been a big week for fans of Star Wars.
Dude. F and A, man.
Seriously.
Okay, so this beautiful cast shot of young Han Solo, Woody Harrelson in a hoodie.
Everyone looks so happy there.
Yeah. Yes.
And Donald Glover
as Lando.
And there in the brown sweatshirt, you see one of the directing team of Lord and Miller, the other guys there in the bottom left, Chris Lord, Phil Miller, or maybe I have their names backwards. Who were this week
you got it right.
Fired from the Han Solo movie.
Sacked.
Yes.
Like Tony Budding.
And which was quite shocking because they were among that was really the only one of the forecasted Star Wars projects I was actually interested in, and the only reason I'm actually interested in it is because Lord and Miller were involved, and what they have done on the 21 Jump Street, 22 Jump Street, and especially the Lego movie, which was their last film, which was a fucking masterpiece. I was really excited to see what they were going to do.
Well, their trademark thing is they take a bad idea for a movie that they've been assigned and somehow magically make a masterpiece out of it.
Yes.
And that's what I assumed when I heard that they announced a young Han Solo movie. That's a bad idea. Then Lord and Miller were attached to it and was like, oh, they're going to pull another magic trick and make a good movie out of it.
I actually have never thought about that. That makes total sense. All three of the movies that I know them for were really terrible ideas.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. No, on paper, like, think about those ideas.
Even Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Another terrible idea for a movie, which they managed to pull off.
That was really good.
Yes, it's not as good as what they have done since, but
that's
it's
their
still
whole
very
deal,
good.
man. And they've proved definitively that there really isn't there's really no such thing as a bad idea. They're just bad execution.
Bad execution.
Except for the Han Solo movie, which is such a bad idea that even they apparently couldn't make a good version.
So the details that are emerging today, and we don't know whether or not these are things that you can actually believe, but at least this is the story that's being put out there from sources, is that apparently, from quote-unquote sources, is the idea that from right away their approach to filmmaking was clashing with Lawrence Kasdan's approach to the screenplay. And Lawrence Kasdan, writer of Empire Strikes Back, and writer of Force Awakens, who's still a very large presence in the Star Wars world and good old friends with Kathleen Kennedy, has worked with his son on the screenplay for this movie and did not like the more improvisational approach to
I like improvisatory.
Did not
it's like a suppository.
Yes, exactly.
For acting,
but for your brain.
It's improv up your butt.
Improv up your butt.
The improvisatory,
which is a great name.
Conservatory for improv.
Yes, but did not like their approach to the character, and did not like their approach to the fact, and wanted the thing to be filmed as written, yada yada yada, and that conflict has been brewing for 5 months. Here's the thing, though. We have seen several times like high-profile, exciting filmmakers being ousted from these kind of projects, namely like Edgar Wright being the one, the obvious example, who's ousted from Ant-Man after years of pre-production on that film, which was then taken over by Peyton Reed. But that film had yet to begun shooting. It shot, like, they have shot for 5 months on Han Solo. They've shot for 5 months on Han Solo. They were weeks away from wrapping. Now, there are scheduled reshoots to go, but that means that whatever we get, like a substantial portion of the film we're going to see, will have been shot by Lord and Miller
and directed
by Lord and Miller. That's and yet the finished product is apparently so very incongruous creatively and tonally with what they've done over the course of 5 months that it merited their firing, and now potentially another director, well, definitely another director stepping in, but someone else coming in, which is kind of weird. And now what we're going to get is going to be another silly mishmash, kind of like Rogue One and everything else.
Yeah, Rogue One actually is an interesting example to bring it up, because the similar thing, not quite this extreme, happened with Gareth Edwards, which was they finished shooting and then they brought in someone else to do the reshoots and finish the movie.
Yeah, and apparently, like, Tony Gilroy came in, rewrote substantial sections, and then directed those sections of the film and stuff. And with Rogue One, you can if you've ever seen anyone do those breakdowns where, like, they show the trailer for Rogue One and then they show the finished movie,
it's
and
like
you see
totally different,
completely different. There's like 40% of the those scenes in the trailer for Rogue One are not in the finished film.
Like the whole climax, I think, was reworked. A lot of things. I mean, like, fuck, one of the coolest shots in the trailer for Rogue One is not in that movie.
Where she's like standing on top of the tower
and the fucking TIE fighter flies up. Like, cool fucking shot.
Didn't that sort of happen?
No, it did not.
She goes out onto a thing, but there's no TIE fighter.
No TIE fighter, right.
But
Forrest Whitaker's character completely changed.
Yes, there's like a whole like section where he's talking, like the monologue he's delivering in the trailer that he does.
Will you become?
Yes, exactly. Not in the movie.
Spot on.
But anyway,
and then in the movie he was all fucking just like old man, scary, confused.
So a scorpion hopped on my back.
Crying game reference. Crying game, y'all. Yeah, and what's the thing is, we were kind of talking about this. I'm not sure if we've talked about this in the podcast, but this, in combination with the Gareth Edwards thing that happened, is evidence of this new type of studio filmmaking that seems to be becoming more of a thing. Like Marvel is an entity that has a voice for that studio, and they bring in a lot of different directors who have brought it, and they seem to have struck a good balance because there are a lot of different points of view. But it really seems to be the producers, the studio that is in charge of the artistic direction that those films are going in. And now we are with the exception of Force Awakens, we are now going to be 2 Star Wars story films in where the visionary filmmakers they've brought in have been removed and replaced with journeymen who could come in and help deliver the vision, not of the directors but of the producers, which to I'd say mixed results in the case of Rogue One. So this is indicative of a bad things potentially for Star Wars, but also just this new systemic issue, which seems to be that the director, more as kind of figurehead who's brought in, who has goodwill, and but if he can't deliver the job, the vision of Kevin Feige in the case of Marvel, or Kathleen Kennedy in the case, and probably Lawrence Kasdan as well in the case of Star Wars, that they are going to be ousted, and that it's really them who are in charge of the direction of where these films are going creatively,
which
and not
really
the directors.
Is shifting things way back to the old studio system. That's pretty much how it works in the old studio system. This whole idea of the director as the author of blah, blah, blah didn't really emerge until the 70s as a thing. Yeah. So the way movies
the director as auteur.
As auteur. They didn't invent that word yet.
We all have our copies of Cahiers du Cinéma, correct?
I don't.
But yeah, so this is a resurrection of that model to, in some cases, good success.
Yeah, well, this is also, but you see that also kind of manifesting itself, I think, as a product of these new shared universes, because no longer is it about even like Gore Verbinski will direct Pirates of the Caribbean, and then he'll direct the sequels, and it will be this one isolated thread of even because as bad as the Pirates of the Caribbean movies were, they were very Gore Verbinski. Now it's like this film has to fit into a world that will feature many directors, not just across a single franchise, but many directors across multiple intersecting franchises, and therefore there's this push, certainly is the case at Marvel, and now we're seeing it manifest itself in perhaps a less healthy way with Lucasfilm, to maintain an aesthetic unity to the whole universe, this whole shared Star Wars universe or Marvel universe. Now Marvel is interesting because they are maintaining that while doing radically different things. And Guardians of the Galaxy is very much a James Gunn movie, and Shane Black definitely put his fingerprints all over Iron Man 3, and because they're making a lot of different kinds of movies. What I do not like about this is that as quote-unquote different as Rogue One was supposed to be, it's A, not very good, and B, it's there doesn't seem to have any voice behind it.
It's the thing where currently with Marvel, as you were saying, we've got Guardians, we've got the various Captain America movies. Like Winter Soldier is very different from Guardians, is very different from everything else we're seeing. They're still hiring like Taika Waititi to direct fucking Thor.
Weird choices,
weird cool choices.
And then you see those choices.
Each one of them is like a genre film as well, right? It's like Avengers 2 was kind of like a spy thriller, and
Captain America 2.
Captain America 2 was like exactly.
It's like Thor 3 is going to be a buddy road movie.
Road movie, exactly. And then we've got this weird Star Wars thing going on now, where it's like, as Kyle was saying, 2 Star Wars stories in, same story each time. It's like the cool, interesting director or directors they brought in are leaving the project, because of various behind the scenes things, which is kneecapping what could be happening with the Star Wars universe. Like, there's so much weird, wacky, crazy shit you could be doing, and
why
instead,
why can't we get a wacky, funny Star Wars movie and a Star Wars horror movie and a Star Wars this and that, all this stuff in this world? And at this point, each one of them, I think the expectation is that because each one of them has to be $1 billion movie, because it's a Star Wars movie, that we're getting these, we're going to start getting these milquetoast products.